Welcome to Garage Gym Athlete Ask Me Anything. It's pretty simple. I'll be answering questions from the thousands of athletes that follow our daily programming. If you have a question or topic you want submitted, go to garagegymathlete.com/AMA. Let's get started. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Garage Gym Athlete Podcast. Jered Moon here with Joe Courtney. What's up, Joe?
Hi, beard is back.
The beard is back. Hopefully more people have seen it because it's awesome. So we have a question from Tom today. We are doing an Ask Me Anything, if you didn't know. And Tom, he had some specific questions about endurance events, and we like to kind of generalize some of these the questions so we can help more people, but also respond to Tom's question. And Tom he's tackling, was it a half marathon, Joe?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's tackling a half marathon, and he has some questions about preparation for something like that, especially if it's maybe not in your normal training. You're not like specifically training for a half marathon. So how do you prepare? How do you pace for something like that? And we will talk in general terms because Joe's done endurance events. I've done endurance events, and we can just, maybe shed some light on these things we've probably mentioned throughout different podcasts, but it'd be nice to have like in a consolidated resource here, man. So I'll throw it to you first. Like, how do you approach these things?
Prepared or during?
Yeah. What is your preparation? And again, this is if you're not going to specifically train for it, but you're still going to prepare for it. How would you prepare?
So you got to do whatever you're doing for the event. So if you're just running a regular race, then just run on dirt, or just run on, gravel, or not dang it, gravel, not gravel, just pavement. There we go. There's the thing. Yeah. That floor type
that stuff.
Yeah. If you're doing like a Spartan or a trail race, then run trails. Biking, you bike. But I would just add some more on Saturdays, and even some, do zone 2 in that element. So if you're doing a bike race, then do zone 2 biking versus a zone 2 run. Zone 2 in general is good, but you're still just getting your body used to that same movement for over and over. So you just feel like you're home doing it. So and have your an extra training day. So if our program, we do 4 days a week. So have your 5th day be a workout centered toward preparing you for that. So do a little bit of longer distance runnings or longer intervals for the on those Saturdays or whatever else is your extra training day. But I'll just pass to you for anything for preparing for it leading up to the race.
I think what you said there is very important, and people need to realize, and most people do, but some people don't. You can't, if you're preparing for a run and you want to do a lot of biking, it will not translate. And I've had a lot of people try things like this or talk to me about it. I've even tried it, many, many years ago. I remember I wanted to try and increase my aerobic endurance for the Air Force PT test. And I read some articles about how swimming can like drastically increase your VO2 max. And so I was like, okay, I'm going to swim and not run to prepare for my 1.5 mile run in the Air Force PT test. There was like no improvement in my 1.5 mile run at all, even though I swam like literally every day. And so it sounds dumb, but I thought if you tackled like VO2 max as a whole, but you're missing out on the actual muscles and the ligaments and the tendons and getting those things. And that's what's going to get painful, or they're not going to be ready to execute. So what Joe said is it seems very like, logical, but it's very important to not skip that step. If you want to train zone 2 for a lot of the other reasons we talk about, it's not going to matter as much. But if you're going into an event, then you definitely want to make sure you're training for that event. So other preparation, most of the time when I do these events, I just do normal training. I don't do a lot of additional preparation other than what you said, Joe. Like bike race, I'll do a long ride on Sunday, so I try to throw that modality in a little bit more. Also in the programming, we always have a lot of conditioning, and I'm always doing that modality. And I won't row. I won't do anything else. I'll only make sure I'm doing that one thing. And then nutrition's the biggest preparation thing that I think you can do. Start experimenting with different fuels, and just getting ready for game day. And because you don't want to change anything on game day or add new supplements. Like if you're going to try something, then just make sure you've tested it, tried it before ahead of time. and you know your fueling strategy going in, especially if it's a longer event, and don't try and make it up on that day, because it won't go well for you.
Great segue for preparing during.
Yeah.
I would also, as you're getting close to the race for preparing, so say it's a half marathon or a marathon, you're going to have to figure out how to, like for me, if I was tackling one just personally, I would try and figure out how to break it up to have at least a little bit of rest and recovery during, because I'm not going to be one to just run straight through and break any records or go for any great time.
But you
Sure,
have done a half marathon. So what'd you do when you actually ran a half marathon? And you've
during the
done it
half marathon.
twice. You did
Well, the
Spartan.
second one was the second one was just not on purpose. It was more than a half marathon for the Spartan. The first half marathon, where it was actually just running a half marathon, I think we were kind of running it in spurts of like 5Ks, so
Mm.
like 3 or so miles, which seemed to work out well. So like we didn't rest at first until after the first 5K. And it's like, okay, we'll go to this, and this is probably how I approach it now too. Is break it up into 5Ks and like get some water. You walk for a little while, rest your heart rate a little bit, and then go back on it, and break it up like that throughout. Toward the end, we were stopping about probably the last 3 miles. We'd stop every mile because just like my knee or something else was hurting because I actually didn't prepare for it at all. But it's still like that's kind of how we tackled it, and it's probably how I would do it now, because maybe one day I'll run a full marathon if I find a fun one to do, especially because 15 miles in a Spartan I can do a
What's
regular
a
marathon.
fun marathon?
Oh man, so they have Star Wars ones at Disney, which are just look awesome.
So you like run in costume or something?
Well, you can. There's a bunch of people that do, but you like actually run through the
Mm.
parks and then you end at a park, and it's just Disney. Disney's
So
awesome. They
not a
also have
quarter mile track.
no, not a quarter-mile track at all. So that would be good for you because it's just you just pass everything once. They also have a princess one if you like princesses better,
Great.
and
I'll
and a
keep those in
superhero
mind.
one. Yeah, because Disney owns everything, so you can just any type of thing. Yeah. So break it up like that. I think if I were to do your 100-mile bike race, which it's still we'll see how it goes. I would have to do it on a stationary bike. I'd probably break those up into 20-mile intervals, but rest a good 5-10 minutes, like with my feet elevated. Feet elevated.
Hmm.
So that's how I would tackle it. Break up your intervals. And when you're training, train for those intervals to see, okay, I can do this interval repeated times and not maxing out each time. Because the first time you do that segment, it should feel fairly easy. You should feel repeatable, and then try and repeat those sections throughout versus just going like, I'm just going to go fast. And then, when I slow down, I expect to slow down. And that's fine. If anything, leave something in the tank for the last like 20%, and then you can dial it up.
Yeah. So I think uh, event duration is a major factor there. So for a half marathon, I've the only time I've done a half marathon was inside of a full marathon, and I remember because I looked at my time and stuff. I was like, okay, cool, that's a half. But I didn't. I didn't take any breaks or anything like that. I think that that's good advice. Again, I think Joe has good advice that I just don't listen to or don't even think about. So when I ran a marathon, it was on a quarter-mile track, and we just didn't stop. We didn't stop the whole time. And I mean, maybe we stopped for like a banana or something. And I didn't know, because I'd never run a race like that before. I didn't know that they did that. I didn't know they had like stations and stuff. So like when I did the 100-mile bike race, they start off with stations, I think like every 10 miles. And then after like 30 or 40 miles, maybe even halfway, it spreads out real far. It's like every 15 to 20 miles. And again, yeah, I would always keep those to a minimum, like go in, fuel if I need to, get some water, bathroom if it happens, if it's necessary, and then get back on. But, Tom specifically asked like about pacing, like, okay, can I go fast for 2 miles, slow for 1 mile? I think that that's fine. Like, because no, you're not going for a time, right? If you're going for time, you would just run as fast as you could the whole time, for that duration. But I think mentally that's a good strategy. I think mentally that's a really good way to break things up. That way, if you don't plan on stopping, you do want to move the whole time. You have this like, okay, for the next 2 miles, I'm going to keep this pace, and then I'm going to drop to 50% of that pace after these 2 miles. I think mentally that'll keep you going. And you don't want to quit. You don't want to sign up for one of these things and not finish it. So whatever you have to do mentally to get through it.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I think that's about it. And then if you are doing one of the long ones, that again, the fueling strategy is really important. And then recovery. Make sure you don't just like do something the next day for recovery. Like move your body, even if it's just a walk. Just do something for recovery, and don't skip that step, or you'll be way more sore than you should have been.
Facts.
Okay. Got anything else?
I don't think so. I think that we pretty much hit on all of those things.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right, Tom, thanks for the question. If anybody else wants to ask a question, go to garagegymathlete.com/AMA. Submit your question, and we'll get it answered here on the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you so much. Go ahead and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, comment, let us know what you like, don't like, so on and so forth. And if you're listening, go ahead and give us a 5-star review and a positive comment. That would be awesome. But that's it, guys. Thanks for listening or watching. I hope you enjoyed today's Ask Me Anything episode. So one more time, if you want to submit a question, topic, or idea, you can do so at garagegymathlete.com/AMA. And hey, while you're there, if you haven't already, sign up for Garage Gym Athlete membership. We are the best community and programming on the internet. I dare you to try and prove me wrong.